already informed you, today we will have a guest lecture. Yeah, but before we start our session for guest lecture, let me introduce the guest lectures first. Yeah. So actually it's already been sent to you yesterday. If I'm not mistaken. That's right. Yesterday. Okay. So basically you already know the information. Yeah. So from this flyer, actually you can see the information about our guest lecture. So the speaker of the guest lecture today is Victor Bisono. You can see it's here already. And this guest lecture is for all 3 classes for the web. Yeah. And the topic, the general topic that we will deliver today is related with the integrating AI practice in web application. So I'm expecting that he can share the perspective of industry, yeah, related with our cost, yeah, so technical perspective. And before start, let me introduce. So this is to the link. Okay, so let me read the summary. This is for TikTok. What do you want to be called? TikTok. Okay, so Victor is the software architect and engineer with over a decade of experience, yeah, and at the moment, so he has a lot of expertise, yeah. You can read through his LinkedIn over here, yeah. So let me read like the occupation, yeah. The last occupation is as a principal cloud architect in Binus, Singapore, and also he also worked before in the Taifu just one group, Singapore Island, Indo. That is the company based on Singapore. He was also engineers, DevOps engineers in L4AC Indonesia and also in the US property in Melbourne, Australia. In fact, yeah, he also my colleague in ANU when I was doing my PhD. So both of us is graduating out of the same university. Yeah. So we met last month, last month, and I asked him to help me to share industry knowledge that's related with web technology. Okay. All right. So I will not read a lot of details about Victor's profile. So he will introduce himself again, yeah, to you. So basically, again, this guest lectures, yeah. I hope you guys can use it wisely. Yeah? I mean, like this is a good opportunity for you to learn how the actual industry happens, yeah, and the technology industry. So please listen carefully. If you have a question, just raise your hand, yeah, and that's also discussion part, yeah. Yes. Yeah, and please, like usual, don't slow time, yeah. Do not slow time. Just relax and have fun together again. We'll learn together again. Okay. All right. So without further ado, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Bagus. So yeah, good morning everyone, and thanks for taking the time from 9:30 in the morning. Coming for the guest lecture. So my name is Victor. I work for a company called ICNO. We are a software consulting firm, mainly dealing with 80% of our customers are in the financial services industry. So yeah, a lot of my work has been with data and infrastructure. So data related, infrastructure related. Some of my the projects that I've been on are with banks like OCBC, for example. Merger of OCBC and Bank of Singapore, the data parts, and then also with also recently, as was mentioned, I've also worked with companies like Singapore Airlines doing their data infrastructure. Okay, so for today's talk, today's talk is going to be about AI services for your web application, so that you can see that just first giving you an idea of what AI services there are, and also giving you some broad ideas of large language models before we go into the actual usage or the actual application. And in today's talk is not just a presentation, but I hope to share with you some of the demos as well, some of the more fun demos as well. And then the idea is that you know what the AI services are, and then you can use it in your to integrate with your web application. All right. So what are we learning today? Yeah. Well, I hope to cover all of this within, let's say, 60 minutes, and then we'll have like 20 minutes of discussions. Yeah. So what is an LLM or whirlwind tour? Quick one. The LLM ecosystem. By LLM, I mean large language models. I hope by now, just maybe quick show of hand. Do you know what is an LLM and have you used it before? If you know, raise your hand. Okay, so LLM is what I'm referring to. Okay, so then I'll explain. So what I'm referring to when I mean LLM or large language models are things like ChatGPT, ChatGPT or Perplexity, Claude AI. I hope, have you guys used ChatGPT before? I hope, okay, that's very good. Because if you're not using ChatGPT before, I don't know how to say to your okay. So you need to use ChatGPT, yeah? So, and even when you do coding, I hope I hope you're not coding from scratch. Use ChatGPT as much as you can, right? So, so LLM or with Floor, and then the LLM ecosystem, thinking models and when to use them, how to use models that can reason, right? And then tool use, so you can configure your LLM for various things like to use various tools like deep research, Python interpreter, data analysis, cloud artifact. So all these things I will demo it so that you don't so it's not just conceptual, but you will see the demo. Vibe coding, do you know what vibe coding is? Okay, so I will show you later what vibe coding is. So you don't code things from scratch, but you code together with the LLM. You code together with the large language model. And sure. Okay. So and then you use vibe coding, other modalities of LLMs. So now LLMs is not just text to text, right? You can use LLMs for text to audio, even audio to audio, even video to video or text to video. So other modalities. In particular, I'll take you through Notebook LM and how you can use Notebook LM in your own learning. And also custom GPTs. So you can, how do you create this thing called, instead of a zero-shot GPTs, how do you create few-shot GPTs? So you configure the GPT with some custom instructions so that the GPT can do exactly what you want instead of, what has been pre-programmed in the GPT. All right, so just a quick one, right? So what is an LLM? An LLM is a large language model. And when we talk about LLM or large language model, this is the machine learning model that is powering tools like ChatGPT and so on and so forth. So, and when we say, what is a machine learning model? Are you guys familiar with what a machine learning model is? Okay, you look okay. Yeah, so a machine learning model, right, generally is a kind of mathematical function, is a complex mathematical function, where when you give it a particular input, based on the learning that the model has gone through, it will give you a particular output, or it can predict a particular output. Right? So you can give it, let's say, you can create a model that has learned about the stock market, for example, for several years, and then you can give it a particular, so it can give you a prediction. Let's say, hey, based on everything that has happened, what is the predicted stock price for a particular stock? So yeah, okay. So that is a machine learning model. A large language model is simply just a larger version of the machine learning model, right? That's what it's called, a large language model. So you imagine a machine learning model that has been trained with the whole internet. So, and the whole internet is about, let's say, 1 terabyte of data. It's probabilistic. It has been trained with the zip file of the internet, and it has gone through this thing called pre-training and post-training. So pre-training, you see here, it's generally very expensive. Usually it costs about $10 million, and maybe 3 months of training on internet documents. And then after that, it will go through what we call a post-training, much cheaper fine tuning with SFT, reinforcement learning, and so on and so forth, right? So, so you imagine. So what I'm trying to get at here, the point is, right, that an LLM, the model that is behind ChatGPT, you imagine, you have to, in your mind, the concept is that this is a self-contained thing. So it has already been trained before. Now it can give you certain predictions. But can the LLM search the internet? By itself, cannot. It doesn't have the capability. The information, all the knowledge of the LLM is already baked inside that zip file. You imagine to be that zip file, right? So that's it. So this is the knowledge, and that's about it. Right? So, and that's why usually it's out of date by a few months. Right? And so, so if you see, the summary is this, right? If ask ChatGPT to introduce itself, you will say, hi, I'm ChatGPT. I'm normally a 1 terabyte zip file. My knowledge comes from the internet, which I read 6 months ago, and remember only vaguely. My winning personality was programmed by example by human labelers at OpenAI. So if you see the knowledge itself is coming from the internet, but the personality is programmed by human labelers at OpenAI. So this is the thing, right? So this is what is an LLM. And when you use ChatGPT, for example, right? When you use ChatGPT, what you do is, so you create a new chat. So you create this thing called the new chat here. And what ChatGPT does is it will tokenize your words, right? It will tokenize your words, put your words into tokens. And then, and as the conversation goes on, the token will get added and added and added into this thing on a context window. So this is and that's why you can actually have a conversation with ChatGPT, because everything ChatGPT seems to remember, whatever you guys were talking about, because there is this thing called the context window. If you want, you can actually play around with this. Thing. I'll show you a bit of a demo here. So you see here. So if I show you this one, this is the big tokenizer. So you see how this is you see how it says you see how your words are being converted into tokens, right? So for example, Y is the sky blue. So you see here, so the number of tokens is 22. And this is why it's important that the number of tokens, because with LLMs, with large language model, there is a limit in this context window. So this thing, so this thing has a limit, right? So this context window has a limit of a few million tokens, and then after that, ChatGPT won't be able to answer it anymore. So that's why, a tip when you use ChatGPT is, for new topics, start a new chat to clear the token. Because so when you do a new chat, you will clear out all these tokens. And if you keep on, talking to ChatGPT over various topics, the ChatGPT will get distracted because it will refer to the previous context to the previous topic and so on and so forth. So you'll get distracted. So the idea is that new topic, start a new chat. Okay, and yeah, so this is conceptually how things are. All right, what's the LLM ecosystem, right? So what are the available LLMs out there? So you have this ChatGPT by OpenAI. This is the OG, incumbent. You guys know what OG is? Okay, if you don't know, ask ChatGPT what is OG. Okay, so so this is the OG incumbent. This is the most popular. Right now, among the big tech, you have Google Gemini, Meta AI, Microsoft Copilot, and you have all these startups, right, that are also doing very well in the LLM ecosystem. Things like Perplexity, Claude AI, Anthropic, Grok, which is also very good. Later on, I'll demo to use some Grok with the audio, and DeepSeek, which is the Chinese one. And the reason why DeepSeek is so is revolutionary is because DeepSeek added this layer of reinforcement learning after the post training, and then you have the chat by Mistral in French. And if you want to know the leaderboards of LLM, which LLM is good for what, right? So you can actually go into all these leaderboards. Right. So, for example, you see here, So you see here which are the winning, which are the top LLMs. So you go into the leaderboard. So it is leaderboard by Alan Arena and also by this scale.com. Also, you have the leaderboard. So for example, the different evaluation. So the eval is equally important because if you know data science, the way you evaluate your model is also very important. So that hey, this model is good for what? This model is good for which application. So for example, for multimodal reasoning, these are some of the good models. For multi-turn conversation, these are some of the good models, and so on and so forth, right? So you have different for example, if you want to know, if you want to use LLM that can do exam, so this is the things that are good at exam, these are good at video understanding, so on. It's keeping track of time. So, okay, so this is LLMs, giving you a whirlwind tour of what an LLM is, of what the what are the different kind of models, what are the different providers, and also which are what are the leaderboards. So you can see, how good which model to use for what application, right? So this is LLM. Okay, if I want to give you a quick demo, I'm sure so just let's say if I go to ChatGPT. So you can always ask it, if the device is type blue. So because of this thing called really scattering and so on and so forth. So, So all I'm getting at is, just now and if you see here, so the way LLM works is really by knowing what next word to predict, what is the next word to predict, and so on and so forth. And that's why now, if I give it a mathematic question, let's see if it knows, right? So, okay, so now let's say if I do 10 plus 10, what is it? Right. So, okay, so for a very simple one, it can give you an answer, right? But this is all because technically, LLMs are always hallucinating. So it is not doing it by reasoning. And that's what you guys have to bear in mind. That, okay, they got it correct because, they have seen it before in some internet document, But if I give it, let's say, a very hard mathematical model, a mathematical equation, then let's see if it can answer this. Now it can give you the analysis. So you see what it is doing now is it is not relying on the 1 terabyte just now, on the 1 terabyte that is being used from the internet, but it is now doing this thing called tool use. Okay, this we go into the second topic now, right? Which is tool use, right? The thinking LLM. Now LLM can think a little bit, right? So and so it is using this thing called tool use. So in this particular case, it is for ChatGPT, it is using this thing called Python. Okay, there is one thing called tool use, but there is also another thing called the reasoning model, right? So if you see here under ChatGPT, now you see the O model. These are, you see, fast and advanced reasoning, coding and logic. So you see now the LLMs is not just hallucinating, it's not just predicting the next word, but there are models that are being used that has got some reasoning capability. So how did this come about? So how it comes about is because you add this another layer after post-training called reinforcement learning. And this is also what models like DeepSeek, what it is using, which is essentially it's almost like playing a game or reading a textbook, right? So like you give it some question from the textbook, and then you don't show the answer, and then after that it will try and error until it gets the answer, and that's where like how playing a game is. Reinforcement learning is commonly used for games. So you let the player play the game until they win. However it is, you win until you win. So that's so you add this thing called the reinforcement learning, which adds another layer into the model, and now the model can reason, can think a little bit. Okay. So this is the thing, and so this is why you see when you use ChatGPT, then if you pay the $200 a month, you can actually have this O1 advanced reasoning, the pro model, right? But I don't pay $200 a month, so if you use so I can only get the O3 mini or the O3 mini. Okay. Now next. Now we go into the next one, which is tool use. Now just now I showed you a little bit of tool use, which is now the LLM can use certain tools, right? So it's not just relying on the 1 terabyte of zip file that it knows, that it learns from internet documents, but now it can use some tool. So just now I showed the Python interpreter, right? So you see here, this is the Python interpreter, and then there is another one which is things like the internet research or deep research, right? So if you see here, so if I go into, let's say this is an example, Notebook LM. So this also you can get for free, Notebook LM by Google. You see, so Notebook LM can actually do deep research. So let me just so let's see, you can see I'm not aware of this. Explain Info 2. So let's say there is there's this paper called Info 2, which is which is this paper about which is a paper about genomics, about foundational model for genomics. And you see, I'm not a biologist, but I want to know about the paper, right? So what do I do? So I asked this thing, okay, I explain it to the leader. And you can actually do this. it could do just now, right, which is to do a deep research on this. But let me just show you. Okay, or for example, the other one that can do a deep research is actually perplexity. So you see that there are some tools here. So this is the so you see there's a deep research here. So this is using, so if you use this deep research, explain, you go to the conditional model for genome. So you see, so what it is doing now is it is actually doing a desktop, it is actually doing searching the web for this, it is actually searching the web. Now, so now you see that the LLMs can use, you can extend the LLM to use tools as well. So things like Python, if there is a Python interpreter, it can do a deep research, which is searching the web. So now the LLM is not just limited to the knowledge that it already has, but now it can look things up on the internet. So it's here, and then it can give you the steps. Right? So deep research, so it is reading. It takes some time generally, but this is what we call what it means when we talk about tool use for LLMs, right? So you see, account comprehensive information about equal2, detailing its capabilities as a powerful AI model for genomics and so on and so forth, right? Okay, while this is loading, okay. Now what I can do, another tool use you can actually do is to when using ChatGPT, you can actually ask ChatGPT to give me the top prices of Apple for the past 1 week. Plot this into a graph. Right. So you see. So for example, now you see here this is the You see, so you see, so you see here that this is the stock prices of Apple for the past 1 week, and then plot this into a graph. And what you see is that you see that there is this graph, there's this graph being plotted as well. So and what this is doing behind the scene is it is also using tools like Python, and so on in order to plot the graph. So it's not using, so it is using a tool behind the scene. So for example, right? So now if I say, okay, plot a trend line on the graph and linearly predict the stock price, closing stock price of Apple for tomorrow. Okay, so if I ask it to plot the trend line, and then you'll see it even more clearly that it's now using using things like matplotlib behind the scene in order to actually create a trend line. And then so you see here, you see, so Apple stock price, trend, and the prediction. So you see the prediction is somewhere here, right? Based on a linear trend. So what it is doing behind the scene, it is actually using things like matplotlib or your other Python libraries in order to create a trend line. And then okay, so so based on this, the predictor is the predictor stock, right? And this based on just a linear trend line. So the predictor to find the predictor stock price. Okay. So now you know that LLMs can actually use tools. So you don't have So when you think about coding, you can now you can even code in English, right? So a lot of things you should not be coding things from scratch, right? You can actually ask the LM to code things for you. Okay, so because you can actually even give me the Python code that you use. Okay, so something like this, you see, here is the Python code, so it can even give you all the Python code that that it was using in order to create the timeline. Okay, so this is advanced data analytics. So and you can give it any form of data. You can give it any form of data. You can upload files from your computer, and then ask ChatGPT to do some basic data analytics for you. So you don't need to do data analytics by yourself. Ask ChatGPT. Okay. Now, the next one I wanted to show you is cloud artifacts. Right. So cloud artifacts. I hope you. Okay. So you see. So this is cloud. So this is cloud, right? So and yeah. So if you see here, what you can do is, let's say if I have this, information on Adam Smith, I can copy all of this information on Adam Smith. By the way, I hope you know who Adam Smith is. Create many flashcards with 10 questions based on the information. I hope you know Adam Smith is a very famous economist. So you see now. Yes. Yeah. So you see now. You see it can create. It can create this card, right? Anti-style flashcards. And what you can do is even you can ask it. You can tell it, say, make this into a web app that I can click and show the answer. So you see, yeah. So if I'll create a React-based flashcard web app, you see, it can create all these things for you. You don't need to start. You don't need to do some heavy duty coding anymore, right? So you see this create button, and you see the best part is it even gives you the preview. So you don't even need. So when was Adam Smith baptized and when did he die? You can show the answer. And next, what are Adam Smith's two classic works? The theory of moral sentiment and inquiry into nuclear responsibility. So you don't need to. So you see, it gives you the preview already and give you the code already, right? So no need to start from scratch. So this is cloud AI. This is cloud artifact. So no need to start from scratch. When you code, you just tell it to start the working with it. All right. So this was So this was deep research, right? Just to give you the this one I couldn't show you just now. But if you use Gemini Advanced, you can actually use deep research. We've already gone through this. And okay, now what about vibe coding, right? So I'm sure you have heard about this term called vibe coding. What is it? Yeah, so I'll explain to you what is vibe coding. So vibe coding is a term popularized by this guy called Andrej Karpathy. He was do you know Andrej Karpathy? Andrej Karpathy used to be the guy who invented the AI at Tesla. So he was the head of AI at Tesla, and and he's a very famous AI researcher. You can follow him on Twitter. So vibe coding is basically using AI-powered editors, right? Such as have you guys used Cursor before? Have you guys used a medical or cursor before? No? Never? Okay, so this is good. So you can download cursor, and what cursor is that cursor is a fork of VS Code. Is a fork of VS Code, but it has this thing called composer, which is built into the editor. So you see here, this thing is called the composer, right? So now I started with a blank folder this morning, and then I say create a basic React app using the latest version of React, and then so it just did that thing on its own, all the CSS, blah 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 until even does an NPM start. So you see, I can follow the link. You see, so it has already started. Now, let's see now if I say that, hey, I want to modify the React app so that this becomes a tic-tac-toe game with a 3x3 grid and X and O as the players, right? So I do this and I just click submit. Okay, so I'll help you create that by modifying the okay. And so what is so special about vibe coding is that vibe coding understands all your files inside the folder, and then it will start modifying things from there. Right? So for example, you see, okay, I'll create a tic-tac-toe game by modifying this, modifying that. Alright, so I say, yeah, okay. I mean, if you want to, you can. Okay, let's update the CSS. Yeah, I'll say accept. Okay, so you see, it's still thinking. Okay, there is the CSS. Okay. Accept, so there is a reset button, there is a, okay, now the game is ready to play. Right, so I say accept, and then I go into my browser, right? So you see now it becomes a tic-tac-toe game already. You see? So it says the winner. So you see now, I don't think I didn't code anything. But I use English to code, right? So now let's be a bit more adventurous, right? So we say that when X or O wins, display confetti. Yes. Okay. So if X or O wins, yeah, I want to display some confetti. Okay. So it says, okay, yeah, well, sure. I will add the React confetti package. Okay. You want to run this command? Yeah, of course. Why not? Run the command. User modify. And then modifies the app ESX. You see, I haven't written a single line of TypeScript, JavaScript, nothing. Then it is ready. Yeah. So accept as usual. So let me to adjust any aspect of the. Now when either X or O, okay, let's try it out. When X or O wins, you get it. That will be better. You see? So the confetti already appears. Yeah, so so this is vibe coding, right? So when people tell you about vibe coding, what it is, it's basically you follow the vibe of the LLM. You don't need to code from scratch, but of course, yeah, and you instruct the LLM to be coding. Of course, now this being a university, right? So I have to show you that I mean the proper use of this is not I mean just now is a demo, right? So but of course you still need to read the code. I mean it's good if you know how to read the code. Make sure that things are things that no bugs, things like this, you still have to read it yourself. You cannot just rely, okay, for a tic-tac-toe game, yes, but let's say next time you are hired in a bank or in a financial institution or in a trading company, you cannot be, I'm just bad coding. It's, people will go crazy. So, okay, and even, you can even use this, and by being smart about, the kind of model, you see, just now I explained to you, right? Let's see your coding, and then you see here in the composer window, in cursor, you see there are different type of model. What you can do is to actually ask the model to help you fix your bugs. But you need to ask the right model. So for example, you notice now that the best models that are good at reasoning are the old models, right? So the O3, O1, so you can still use, you can always use the old model in order to find bugs. So, you can try it for yourself in your own apps, but use the right model in order to help you fix bugs. Okay. So this is byte coding. Okay, so the next one is other modalities, right? So you have so LLMs are not just limited to text, but LLMs can actually do text input, audio output. It can even do audio input, audio output, which I will demo later. And it's quite funny. It can even generate a podcast for you. Do you know that LLM can generate a podcast for you? You know that, right? Yeah. Notebook LLM, for example, right? So I'll show you this one. For example, just now, right? I was describing to you guys about Evo 2, which is the new foundational model for genomics. But hey, I'm not a biologist, and for me, reading the paper on Evo 2 is a little bit too much. So what I do is I upload this Evo 2 into Notebook LM by Google, and just now over here, if you see, there was a button that says generate a podcast, generate a 2-host podcast on Evo 2. So you can see, I can play for you a little bit on that.
Get ready for a deep dive into the world of biology, but like with a really cool twist, we're throwing some serious AI into the mix. Today we're going to explore how AI is like totally changing the game in the field of biology.
Yeah, it's not even just changing, it's like causing a full-blown revolution. And right at the heart of it is this thing called Evo 2. It's not just like smart. It's been trained on an unbelievable amount of genetic data.
We're talking everything from the smallest bacteria to us humans.
Yeah.
And even those tricky viruses. So Evo 2 isn't a one-trick pony or anything. It's not just limited to one very specific task.
Exactly. What's called a
You see, so you can see that now, even when you have some very difficult, highly technical biology paper, you can ask GPT to create a podcast for you. So you can listen to this when you're walking, in the gym, so it's not, and you can instruct the GPT to create the podcast in such a way that it's beginner friendly, right? I'll show you. You see here, if you see here, just now Notebook LM, you see I have the genome thing, and what I can do is to, if I say, oh, this is okay. So this is just loading the conversation, right? But just now, before this, there is actually a text box here, and you can actually tell it that, hey, I am a beginner in biology. So make the podcast beginner friendly, for example. So things like this. So you can do things like this to the which age you're learning, right? So let's say, oh, I want to learn about economics, I want to learn about biology, or because when you are out there in the industry, right, a lot of things are not just because I know how to code. And not even the LM knows how to code. it's usually the intersection between two knowledge specialties that really, that really where your skill will come in handy. For example, I know a little bit of biology, plus I know coding. I know a little bit of economics, and I know coding. Or I know, any other knowledge like, physics and coding. Even when creating a game, if you're into, working for a gaming company, you need to know a lot of physics. So so to understand some of these things, this is one way it can aid your learning. So by, listening to a podcast, right? Okay. The other one which I want to show you, let's see if let me just see, because this is only available on the app. If you download the Grok, if you download the Grok app, you can actually talk to Grok on audio, right? So, for example, okay, this is the okay. I can start with the assistant, right? So I can. Okay, hi Grok, why is the sky blue? Yeah, okay, so you see how you can not just use text, right? But you can use audio, and that's why you see like even I mean you can try or you don't try, but these guys who are quite cheeky, right? So they go through a job interview and they put Grok on the they put Grok to talk to the interviewer. So it's really quite crazy. But also Grok, for example, has got the argumentative. Okay, so if I ask, why is the sky blue? See, you see, so now it becomes argumentative, right? So you ask, why is the sky blue? No, it's blue. Or and even there is a romantic drop as well, so you can try it for yourself. But this the romantic drop will be a bit out there for a university class, right? So okay, so these are other modalities you can use with LLM. So the power of LLM. So for example, this one, text to video generation, right? So you see, given a prompt, okay, here's a bit small, right? The prompt is a person standing in a bright, airy room bathed in soft natural sunlight, streaming through a large window, blah, 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 blah. And, this person actually gives the comparison of the various LLM. You see, so you use Google View, Adobe Firefly, Bunyan, okay, so this is the product of Google View, Adobe Firefly, and so on and so forth, right? So, so you see here that this is the LLM can also generate for you videos, right? So this is the thing. All right. And I'll give you the link. I'll send you the presentation later. You can see the link. Okay. This is about the last one. I don't have the demo, but I'll give you this screenshot. What you can actually do with ChatGPT. With ChatGPT is you can actually create a custom GPT. You can also, for example, if I want to learn Korean and I like watching, Singles Inferno, the Korean show, what I can do is to create a custom GPT. So it says here, you'll be given an image crop from the TV show Singles Inferno, which is a tiny piece of dialogue. Your job is to OCR this into Korean text, translate the whole text into English, translate the text into English again, but on the individual word level. Mention the individual word stands that the word is come from, as well as any particular reference. So what I can do now is, let's say I go to Netflix, I watch Singles Inferno. Oh, I don't understand this part. What I can do is I can do a control click screen, take a screenshot with the Korean subtitle, and then put it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will do this for you. Post here text, blah blah blah, translate the whole Korean text into English, translate the text into English again, but this time with the different word charts. So these are the different word charts. All right. So, and you give it some examples, you see. So, for example, this is the Korean word, the romanization, and then the English translation, so on and so forth. All right. So, I guess this is about it that I have for you. Yeah. So, what we have learned today, and feel free after this. We have a couple of minutes for questions, Q&A. So what we have learned today is we have learned about the LLM. What is an LLM, right? So what we for that an LLM is generally a 1 terabyte zip file. You upload it into a model. This model knows how to hallucinate, but also this model knows how to think, right? So and use tools. So for example, like deep research is a tool that you can use to search the internet, and then Python interpreter, data analytics, cloud artifacts, and so on. Then we went through the LLM ecosystem, thinking model. So there are models that are very good at reasoning. So things like your O model, O1, O3, these are very good at reasoning. We went through vibe coding. So using tools like Cursor, for example, there is so other than Cursor, you can also use Windsurf. I think that's the name. You can look it up, Windsurf. And then other modalities like notebook LM, text to video, and also custom. So yeah, so that's about all I have. Yeah, and for reference, if you want to see basically this talk but narrated by Andre Karpati, there is a YouTube link which you can see. And yeah, so that's it. Thanks very much. And yeah, happy to take questions. Anyone? Any questions? Any? Or I don't know if you want to discuss something. Are you guys doing? So you guys don't do a lot of live coding? Not very much. Or do you have to code things from scratch?
No, personally, I use AI.
You use which one?
I use AI.
Use AI. So how do you use AI?
I technically ask the AI to do some boilerplate.
Oh yeah, so you go to the website, you ask the AI to do the boilerplate, then you copy and paste.
Yeah, then I copy paste. After I copy paste, if I'm looking some concept, or maybe the AI sometimes hallucinate or do some mistake wrong.
Yeah. Okay, good. So today, what you can do, right? What you can do if you use things like Cursor, you don't even have to copy and paste. You see just now, Cursor already straight away modify all your files, right? So that is one thing you can also implement in your workflow, right? So you can be a bit faster. You don't have to copy and paste, but straight away Cursor can do that for you.
But personally, I think if anything Cursor, some coding practices are not good enough, right? Especially if you're trying to fast, but if you have to debug yourself. For example, in some apps you need to create, especially as object oriented programming.
Yeah.
If you have good, there's a lot of paths to go with, and sometimes cannot know our things properly.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you'll be surprised, yeah, but I would say I agree with you. I agree with you. In large parts, for the more complicated, sort of backend code, a little bit hard to get person to do everything to do. But let's say front end, help me create a form, you can ask person to help you create a form and things like that. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? I don't know, what do you find, have you guys used ChatGPT like this? Have you used the data analytics function? Not used before, right? Okay, so you can try, use the data analytics function of ChatGPT. For example, right? You have to upload the thing, then ChatGPT can give you a trend. What about text to audio? Do you guys do text to audio or text to video? Not very much, huh? Okay, so this is also, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to work on your Instagram or you can text to video instead of putting your own video, you will put text to video. Okay, guys, any other, I don't know, questions, comments, any other things? So you don't use text to video very much. Yeah, custom GPT also not very much. No. Yeah, okay. Well, now you know. You can use custom. You can create your own custom GPT and things like this, right? Okay. So I guess that's it. I hope.
I have another question.
Yeah, please, I know.
Okay, guys, you don't have a question? No?
Yeah, some questions.
Okay, it's not really good, yeah. He teach you how to make a shortcut in programming, yeah. I'm just kidding. Well, even though you can do it, of course, in the sake of learning something, of course, you need to make your hands dirty and keep your logic still working, yeah. So even though you are, of course, for practice, you can try that, like for example, using cursor, yeah. However, again, everything that they produce AI now is really still far away from perfect, yeah. Still it's especially because after this you will graduate as computer scientist, right? Yeah. So don't forget about it, yeah. So it means you are become the one that create the LLM or the ChatGPT technology, something like that. Okay. All right. So if you don't have a question, maybe I will share something. Actually, Victor already mentioned before, yeah. This part also have like a final project. Yeah, and I already mentioned to you, everyone here actually have the same thing to do, which is creating the help desk and ticketing system, right? And for that final project, I also suggest them to include like an AI service that can be included into the system. Yeah, all right. Maybe do you have any experience or related to the AI service that can be implemented to the final project, for example?
Yeah. Actually, this is a very good, this is a very good topic to discuss. So how do you integrate all of this into your web app? So how do you integrate all of this into the web app? Which I didn't cover very much, because I thought I wanted to cover, hey, this is what AI can do. And then the integration part is actually, through the various APIs, right? So for example, ChatGPT, you have ChatGPT API, and also the same with Claude, you also have your Claude API, right? And what you can do these days with ChatGPT APIs and Claude APIs is to embed it with custom documents or custom knowledge or custom context, right? So because this time we learn about context. So for example, if you put, if you are creating a help desk for a bank, you can actually tell the GPT that, using the context, right? And in your web app, you can actually tell the GPT that, hey, the bank opens from, let's say, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The bank is closed on Sundays. So that when people ask this help agent, people can ask, hey, is the bank closed on Sundays? Then, it has all this information. Right? So you use this context window, which we explained just on the beginning. You give it all this, you give it context into the ChatGPT on, exactly the information that are particular to your company. So for example, this kind of stuff like, hey, when is the bank closed, or maybe some banking products, that are only available for that particular bank, so all these things you give it as context, right? So that when the customer, when your user actually asks about these questions, the LLM actually has context. So this is number one, using context. Number two, which is related to security, which is also part of the topic that you guys are dealing with. Security, your security consideration, you should also consider security, right? When trying to when creating or integrating with LLMs, right? Because let's say if I'm a bank customer and I mean for banking, yeah, maybe and then I start putting in my banking details, hey, by the way, my bank account number is blah 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 blah, and and this is all going to the internet, and so everything is going into the in fact, this is also the danger with a lot of I'm not sure if you have heard, but there was a period of time where Samsung engineers in the US actually they were they were trying to debug their piece of code using ChatGPT. So what did they do? They copy and paste the code of Samsung into ChatGPT, and all goes to the internet. So it's so you see that there is also danger on security, and that's why with a lot of these things, with the bigger companies, what they are doing is they are creating their own in-house GPTs. So in-house GPTs that they host it by themselves, so it doesn't go into the internet, right? But what you can do is also that there are also services out there. So, for example, if you have used Microsoft Azure, so Azure has Microsoft, plus OpenAI is now collaborating a lot with Microsoft, right? So Azure, if you use the Azure cloud, you can actually have your own private GPT. So so that the data doesn't go past the internet. So this is one consideration. I'm igniting your, at least I'm giving you some, sparks of inspiration that, hey, you need to consider these things. The actual, technical, mechanical side of it, you figure it out by yourself, but, really consider that, hey, when you are using Claude or all this data is flowing to the public internet. So you don't want, and your data can be used for learning of this model again. So just be very careful on that, right? So especially when people are putting in their personal details, you don't want people to put in their banking details to the internet. So these are the two things. One is to use the APIs. And give it context so that it's contextual. Number two, security. So please be aware of the security part. The data is not going through the internet. Yeah. Something like this.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there any follow-up question about it? Because this is quite important, yeah. Because one of the requirements in your final project to get like a fully score is actually embedding AI services, yeah. Especially you can make like a chatbot or anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But remember, because each team has like a different company or different industry, so I think that's related with the first thing that Victor already mentioned, the context, yeah. Because every company, like for example, the one that creating system for education maybe different with the hospital or IT industry, yeah, because they have like a different context.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you guys have following up question or maybe any other question? Do you guys know how to put the context into the API service? Like for example, OpenAI is actually the one that provides you with the API, right? The endpoint API. However, there's no clear instruction how you can use the special context, like for example, the product of the industry.
Yeah, I can. Okay, maybe I'll show you. For this, I'll show you how do you give context, right? So let's go to ChatGPT. But of course, for your case, you'll be doing this via an API. I'm doing this on the web, but you'll be doing this but you'll be doing this using an API, right? So what you can do is to do this. Context is actually very simple. Actually, just okay. So we are a batch, and our opening hours is from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. 5 days a week. So by giving something like this, you see, even by giving something like this is already context. This already you give it. You open on 10. So you see, no, yeah. So you see, the pen only operates on weekdays 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's close and that. So you see, so this is how you give it context. Okay, you give it context by telling it by telling the GPT. So you imagine that for your particular app, before the user even asks the question, your app behind the scene has to already tell the LLM, hey, this is my company, this is my bank, blah 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 blah. So you add all those information which the user doesn't see, right? So the user only sees this part, but this part should be your app via an API telling OpenAI, telling ChatGPT that, hey, I'm a bank, I open on this, I have this product, blah 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 blah. So that the next time when the user asks, the user already have all the context already. So this part will be by the user, but this part you should give it to the AI through an API call when the application starts, for example, or when you start a new chat. So this is how you can interface with the LLM.
Okay. Any questions, guys? Or any comments? Okay. Meanwhile, waiting for the students to having like something to ask. I just want to follow up the question again. So, is there any possibilities, because this is still related with the second reason, right? The security thing, right? Because of course, every industry doesn't want to share the private information, right?
Yes.
Okay. However, there's like a challenge to, for example, like you said, for the security reason, you can create your own GPT private.
Yes.
However, when you do that, it means you limit yourself with the update LLM.
Yes.
So, is there any chance to, like, for example, still using the update LLM while we keep our data still private?
Yeah. So there are okay, very very good question, man. So so one of the things you can do, which in fact, so this is now really, and then this is why consulting companies like the one I work for exist, is because a lot of companies these days are like, hey, I want to create my own LLM, but I want to embed my own data. So you have other form of customization. So how do you customize an LLM? Basically, there are three ways, right? One is by this thing called fine-tuning the model, which this is the hardest way, fine-tuning the model. So I go to Hugging Face, I download the open source model, I give it my documents. Let's say, I'm an insurance company, I have all the insurance policies, whatnot. I put all the insurance into a zip file. I will fine tune. So I'll do the last bit of training of the model using my own information. So this is one way, right? The second way is by creating this thing called a RAG, or a retrieval augmented generation. So it's the same LLM. I don't need to modify the LLM. So I don't need the LLM to be updated. It's fine. I use this, but I tell the LLM, I create a system in such a way that it's not just the answer from the LLM, but also some other information from a particular database, from my own database. they call it the vector database, the vector DB. So this vector database is the one that I keep continually updating with my own information. So let's say like, oh, I have a new insurance policy. Yep, I put a new insurance policy into the vector DB. So you keep updating this vector DB with your own information, and then use this RAG system. So the RAG system will continually be updated based on your own information. Although the foundational model is still the same foundational model. So this is the second way, which is so between the first one and the second one, the second one is more popular because but there are systems out there. So use things like vector DB like Chroma, MongoDB. But the MongoDB is more familiar for the enterprise. So use things like MongoDB, very common Chroma DB. So RAG is one, fine tuning is the second one. The third one, which is very, very unlikely, but people do it. Let's see just now, right? Oh, but I need a new foundational model for genomics. Then you create a new foundational model, which is the $10 million, blah 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 blah. But sometimes you really need a new foundational model. For example, like for a very specific industry, like just oh, I want a foundational model that's good for genomics. Oh, you cannot do a RAG system for genomics because the entire concept is different, right? It's not using language anymore. It's using DNA sequencing and whatnot. So you need to create a new foundational model. And the same thing. That's why for new languages, like how do you want to create a new foundational model for Southeast Asia? Because the culture is so different. What you call it, ChatGPT is trained with a culture from the US, but Indonesia is very different, the way we operate is very different, the internet is very different, the netizen is very different. So you create your own foundational model. So three ways. Train your own foundational model, not very common. RAG, the most common, or use fine tuning, which is somewhere in between. Because there's some cost involved and some expertise, but this one we do. Yeah. There's something like that.
Okay. Good. All right. How about now? Do you guys have a question?
No question.
No good.
Really, so you're very clear, huh?
Or maybe it's too far away. Okay. Maybe I have one more. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's put back into the topic because this class is basically about web application development and capability. Yeah. So again, so let's say I would like to utilize the AI interface or API, right? But we know that actually those API can be accessed directly to front end, or we can embed it, or we can call it from our back end. Okay. So in the perspective of industry, which architectures that actually commonly be used? So it's connected directly to the front end or connected to the back end?
Yeah, so this is also a very good, this is a very good topic. So, so how do we do this, right? So, because we, you can connect directly from the front end, like, using Axios and whatnot, use React, but you can also connect it from the back end. It really depends. For example, some of the consideration you can use, right, is that when you do things on the front end, potentially somebody can do a command shift I and actually get all your sources. So all these things, you can actually get all your sources from here. Especially if you're not careful, you don't minimize, you don't obfuscate your JavaScript. And what is dangerous is if somebody gets hold of your OpenAI key, for example, right? From the view sources. So this is also something you need to consider. Whereas if I hide all of this on the back end, nobody can see. Nobody sees the back end, right? So so things like this, your keys, the passwords, if you have any sensitive information, make sure you put that through the back end. Make sure you put that in the back end so that you don't expose things on the front end, right? So, and Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's up to you. These are some of the things that you need to consider. If it were me, I will layer it on the back end, so that at least, there is that additional layer of security. I'm not exposing any tokens, I'm not exposing any passwords on the front end, but on the back end, you can do whatever you want, except that there is a little bit of latency, but, you guys are not doing, high speed financial trading where you need to, keep like stocks, right? I'm sure some latency is okay in general, right? So, put it on the back end, if you have any set to be okay.
Okay, I think that's very clear. So best practice in industry actually in the back end or the cost implication. Okay. Any question, guys? Have you guys learned a lot of things from today's session? Sure? Okay. So if there's no question, let's give a applause first for our. Okay, since you don't have a question, so I will give you a question. Okay, so if you notice, like 10 minutes ago, I just upload new assignments in session 7. Yeah, so basically there's like new assignments for today's guest lecture. Yeah, only one question basically. Yeah, so the things that you need to do is summarize. You create SI for today's session, what you have learned, what you heard, what you think interesting from today's topic. Yeah, minimum 1,500 or 1,500. Yeah, 1,500 words. Yeah. Again, the rule is similar. Similarity is less than 15%, and no AI score detected. Okay. Well, you can. This is not the quiz, so you can reattach. Okay, so if you already open it, just close it. You can reattach. Yeah. The deadline will be tonight. Yeah. At 23:30 or 11:30 p.m. Yeah. You have a good chance or more time compared to the other class, yeah, because tonight's class, this afternoon class will be have shorter time to create the assignment. Okay, is that alright?
We submit it right now.
Up to you. The deadline will be because you still have for like 1 hour, right, for this class. So better to do it now, yeah. Because remember, I don't know if you guys already done for the quiz and for the assignment week 5. But remember, the deadline will be tonight. Both quiz and assignments week 5. Yeah. And again, in the forum, there's also additional extra score if you want to do the doctor things with your assignment 5. Yeah. So if you're interested to get like extra score for your final exam, please do it. Yes. Yes. So the slide will be given to you this afternoon. Yeah. After the class afternoon class. Yeah. All right. So now you can drafting based on what you heard. At least I will know if you listen or pay attention to the topic. Yes.
The minimum work is 500 or 1,500.
1,500. 500 is too small for you. Yeah, and I think the topic today is quite wide. Yeah, from the LLM until the question that I asked. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that you can discuss and try to, create like an essay or the story based on the things that you understand. Yeah, get it? Not based on the slide. But what the things that you observe. Yes.
Sir, I think even the presentation is not like 1,500 words.
That's why I mean, like, you can expand it based on your
So I can expand based on my understanding, based on my knowledge. I can expand. For example, like explain about M before. Like if I also explain about like there's program inside this
Yes, and also there's some data that you can try and you can tell about it. Right?
Can we explain like the probabilistic model, everything?
I think that you get from today's session.
Oh, so.
And there's no reference required because I only want to know, how well you can absorb information. That's the point. Get it? Because I also watched the session today, so it means I will compare with the one that I have. Okay? So please check again the rubrics, So if you want to get like a full score, check the rubrics. What is the requirement for the rubrics? Any question for assignment 7?
No.
No? All good?
For now, no.
For now, it's no. Because if you ask tomorrow, the deadline is past already. Okay. As usual, I would like to check about the update of final project. Because after the mid-exam period, you need to submit the second checkpoint. Okay? And in the second checkpoint, all the design is already done. Okay? Do you have any problem with your final project? Is there any problems, like for example, that can be hard for you to design the system? No? All good? All good, guys? Yes. Oh, that's my actually not you here. Yeah, I haven't changed it. Right. Okay, so you are good with it. Okay, all good, yeah? Okay, so if you have another question related with the technical things, programming, and also final project, if your TA is Tyron, of course you can discuss with Tyron, but you also open to discuss with our lab coordinator. Yeah? Mr. Jono is here. Okay, I think if there's no more questions or comments, so I will close to the session. Is that alright, guys? So you will use the remaining time to do the assignments, Okay then, so let's dismiss this class. Thank you so much for today. I hope you learned a lot of things from our guest lectures, and hopefully thank you so much for Victor. Of course, for the other class, we still for the class this afternoon and Thursday, Okay, one more time, give applause and see you after.